Welcome to EduRev's daily current affairs discussion. Alright, let's jump right in. We've got a really packed briefing for you today, and everything we're covering is perfectly synced up with your UPSC syllabus. First, we'll tackle national security and defense. Then, we'll dive into some crucial updates from the world of ecology. After that, we're on to governance and global relations. And of course, we'll wrap it all up with some key exam takeaways to give you that extra edge. Okay, so first up, national security and defense. Now, this is absolute core material for your GS paper 3. We're going to cover a lot from historical military ops to the really modern challenges of things like cyber terrorism. So let's start with a really significant piece of history, Operation Pawan. You have to understand this was a landmark moment for India's military. I mean, it was our first major overseas operation after independence. Back in 1987, the Indian peacekeeping force, the IPKF, was deployed to Sri Lanka. And as you can see from the timeline, there were some early successes, right? Like capturing Jaffna. But the mission quickly got complicated, turning into a really tough counterinsurgency fight that finally wrapped up in 1990. So why are we talking about it now? Well, the big news is that just this year, in 2025, the Indian Army has finally formally recognized the immense sacrifice of those soldiers. A really long overdue acknowledgement for sure. And this next number, this is exactly why that recognition is so incredibly significant. 1,171. That's how many Indian soldiers lost their lives during Operation Pawan. Think about that. For decades, their sacrifice wasn't officially commemorated at the National War Memorial. This recent tribute, it finally brings that long awaited acknowledgement of their service. Okay, so from a chapter of military history, let's pivot to the invisible battlefronts of today, because the whole game has changed. The very nature of terrorism is different, and this comparison here really nails that evolution. I mean, we've gone from that old school spy movie kind of stuff, right? Physical dead drops, coded letters, to a completely new digital battlefield. Today's terror modules operate in a world of encrypted apps like Threema, dark web forums, and crypto funding. And what that means is they are incredibly difficult for our security agencies to track, let alone dismantle. So what exactly is this digital tradecraft? How does it work? Well, it basically rests on 4 key pillars. First, you've got encrypted communication, making sure messages stay secret. Then second, they use anonymity tools like VPNs and TOR to completely hide their identities. Third, they rely on decentralized platforms, which means there's no single server or central point you can just take down. And finally, and this is a big one, financial obfuscation. We're talking untraceable cryptocurrencies, but also old school systems like Hawala, which operate completely outside the formal banking system. You put all that together, it creates a massive challenge for our security agencies. Alright, now on to something a bit more collaborative. Let's talk about Exercise Surya Kiran. This is the 19th edition, the 19th of the joint military exercise between the Indian and Nepal armies happening in Pitaragar, Uttarakhand. Now, what's really interesting here is the tech focus. This isn't just about your standard drills anymore. It's all about integrating drones, AI, and unmanned systems, specifically for counter-terrorism in that really tough mountainous terrain. This kind of cooperation is absolutely vital for our relationship with Nepal. Okay, let's switch gears and move to our next section, ecology in the news. Now, these updates are super important. They're essential for both GS Paper 3 on environment and GS Paper 1 on geography, so definitely pay close attention to this part. So here we've got a quick snapshot of 3 really different ecological topics that have been making headlines. First up, the Manchurian walnut. Now, this is cool. It's not just a tree. Its leaves are actually being studied for their amazing weed control properties. Then you've got the Cuban gyre. This thing is a legit living fossil, a fish that can literally breathe air, but sadly it's on the brink, listed by the IUCN as critically endangered. And finally, the beautiful Ningaloo Reef in Australia, a UNESCO World Heritage Site. And hey, here's a quick UPSC hack for you. Making simple tables just like this one in your notes is a fantastic way to revise key prelims facts super quickly. You can do this on your EduRev app too. And sticking with the Ningaloo Reef for a moment, this next number is it's deeply alarming. A recent survey found that nearly 70% of the corals there have perished. Let that sink in. 70%. It's just a stark, devastating reminder of the real-world impact of climate change, even on our most protected UNESCO World Heritage sites. Okay, let's move on to our third section for today, governance and global relations. This is prime material for GS Paper 2, where a solid understanding of international forms and national policies is absolutely key to scoring well. So I want to start this section with a question for you. I want you to think about this as we discuss the recent G20 Johannesburg summit. The question is, what is the African philosophy of Ubuntu? Because this idea, it was the guiding spirit of the entire summit. So what is it? Well, Ubuntu is this profound African philosophy that basically means I am because you are. It's all about shared humanity, collective responsibility, and social harmony. And this single idea heavily influenced the G20 Johannesburg Declaration. population. It was the driving force behind the push for a more cooperative, more empathetic approach to massive global problems like climate change, inequality, and even big-ticket items like Security Council reform. But you might be asking, why does the G20's philosophy matter so much? Well, this chart tells the whole story. The G20 is not just another forum. We're talking about a group that represents a staggering 85% of the entire world's GDP, 75% of all global trade, and 2/3 of the world's population. So yeah, when this group agrees on a principle like Ubuntu, the rest of the world definitely sits up and takes notice. Now, here's a key prelims fact for you to jot down. It's about the G20's leadership structure, which is called the Troika. For 2025, the Troika is made up of the past president, which was Brazil, the current president, South Africa, and the incoming president, the USA. This whole structure is designed to make sure there's continuity in the group's agenda from year to year. So definitely remember this lineup. Okay, let's bring the focus back home to India for a bit. And this number here, 50 years, it marks a huge milestone for one of our country's most important welfare programs, the Integrated Child Development Services, or ICDS. I mean, think about it. For half a century, this program has been shaping the future of India's children. So what does ICDS actually do? Well, it delivers these 6 core services through our amazing network of Anganwadi centers all across the country. And this is a big deal. It's the world's largest program for early childhood development, tackling everything from supplementary nutrition and immunization to preschool education. It's also really important to remember that it's now part of the broader mission, Saksham Anganwadi and Uposhan 2.0, which shows how the scheme has evolved over time. Phew, we have covered a lot of ground today. So now let's do the most important part. Let's distill all of this down into a clear, actionable plan for your UPSC preparation. This is where we connect all the dots right back to your exam papers. First, here's a fantastic hack for your ethics paper, GS4. When you get a question on compassion or international ethics or global governance, use the spirit of Ubuntu from the G20 declaration as a real-world example. Trust me, it's going to make your answer pop with contemporary relevance and show the examiner you're connecting the dots. Next up, for your mains paper, specifically GS3, internal security. Don't just talk about the old threats. You need to use the term digital tradecraft. Talk about things like encrypted apps and crypto funding. Using this specific terminology shows the examiner you have a really solid grasp of the emerging security challenges we face today. And of course, for prelims, here's a quick alert. Note down these 2 high probability facts from today's discussion. The IUCN status of the Cuban gar, it's critically endangered, and the location of Ningaloo Reef, Western Australia. Make sure you add these to your notes on the EduRev app so you can revise them on the go. And finally, I want to leave you with a thought, a question that could be pulled straight from a man's paper. As these terror networks master the digital space, how must India's legal and technological frameworks evolve to counter these threats, but without compromising our own civil liberty? It's a really tough balance to strike, isn't it? Something to really think about. Let that one sink in.